The alarms screamed through the command center like wounded animals. Admiral Taemin Kang stood before the massive display screen, watching red dots multiply across the star map. Each dot represented a distress signal. Each signal represented lives ending. New Brisbane colony reporting massive casualties, the communications officer said, her voice shaking. Vrakti warships appeared without warning. They're targeting civilian centers. Taemin's jaw tightened. This was the 6th time. 6 times in 12 years the Vrakti had attacked human worlds. 6 times humanity had responded with measured defense, pushing them back but never striking their territory. 6 times Earth had sent messages asking for peace. The Vrakti thought humans were weak. How many dead? Taemin asked. The officer checked her console. Preliminary reports say 40,000. Maybe more. Defense drones are engaging now, but the Vrakti used overwhelming numbers. They knew exactly where our colonies were weakest. Taemin closed his eyes for a moment. 40,000 people, families, children, scientists who had chosen to build new homes among the stars. All gone because the Vrakti Empire saw humanity as easy prey. Behind him, the command center buzzed with activity. Officers coordinated defense fleets. Analysts tracked Vrakti ship movements. Medical teams prepared to receive wounded colonists. Everyone moved with practiced efficiency, but Taemin could see the anger in their faces. The frustration. How many more attacks would they endure? Dr. Myung Park entered the command center, her tablet clutched against her chest. She was Earth's chief scientific advisor, and one of the few people who understood alien psychology. Her specialty was figuring out how other species thought, what drove them, what they feared. Admiral, she said quietly, the president wants to see us. Emergency cabinet meeting in 20 minutes. Taemin nodded. He knew what this meeting would be about. Everyone had limits, even patient ones. They walked through the corridors of Orbital Command Station, Earth's primary military headquarters floating high above the planet. Through the windows, Taemin could see Earth below, blue and green and beautiful. 50 billion people lived down there, most of them unaware that humanity was at war. Earth's government had kept the Vrakti attacks quiet, handling them with military forces while ordinary citizens lived normal lives. But secrets couldn't last forever. President Yoon Ji-shin sat at the head of the conference table, her face tired. She had been a diplomat once, spending years trying to establish peaceful relations with alien species. Those years had taught her that some species only understood strength. Around the table sat the cabinet members, defense ministers, intelligence directors, scientific advisors. All of them looked grim. 40,000 dead, President Shin said without preamble. New Brisbane was supposed to be safe. We positioned defense satellites. We had early warning systems. The Vrakti adapted their tactics specifically to overwhelm our defenses. They're learning, said General Ji Woo-an, head of Strategic Command. Each attack they study our responses. They're testing us, pushing boundaries. Dr. Myung set her tablet on the table. I've been analyzing Vrakti communication intercepts for 3 years. Their psychology is fundamentally based on dominance hierarchies. They've conquered 47 species across 200 star systems. Every single species that showed restraint, they interpreted as submission. We've sent 17 diplomatic messages, President Shin said. 17 attempts at peace. They've ignored every single one. Not ignored, Myung corrected. They've studied them. To the Vrakti, our attempts at peace confirm their belief that we're inferior. In their culture, truly powerful species don't ask for peace. They take what they want, Taemin spoke up. Our defense strategy was designed to protect human lives while showing we're not aggressive. We wanted to prove we're not conquerors. And instead we've proven we're targets, General Ji-woo said bluntly. President Shin stood and walked to the window looking down at Earth. I didn't want this, she said softly. When I took office, I promised to keep Earth safe through diplomacy. I believed we could show the galaxy a better way. A peaceful way. She turned back to the table. But I also promised to protect human lives. 40,000 people died today. How many more will die tomorrow? Next month? Next year? The room fell silent. We have options, General Ji-woo said carefully. Options we've kept secret since the first contact. President Shin nodded slowly. Final warning protocol. Taemin had heard rumors about this protocol, but few people knew the details. It was the plan that everyone hoped would never be necessary. Dr. Myung pulled up files on the main display. Technical specifications, weapon designs, Strategic assessments. For 20 years since we first developed faster-than-light travel, Earth's best scientists have been preparing. Not preparing for war, but preparing for survival. Images appeared on the screen. Sleek ships with technology far beyond what humanity had shown the galaxy. Devices that could do things no alien species had imagined. All of it hidden, kept secret, held in reserve. We could have destroyed the Vrakti after the first attack, General Jiwoo said. We had the capability even then. But we chose restraint. We chose to give them chances. 5 chances, President Shin said. Now 6 attacks. How many chances does one empire deserve? She looked around the table at her advisors. I'm calling for a vote. Full cabinet. Do we authorize final warning protocol? One by one, the cabinet members voted. Some quickly, their minds already made up. Others hesitated, understanding the weight of this decision. Humanity was about to show its true face to the galaxy. The vote was 9-2 in favor. President Shin closed her eyes for a long moment, then opened them with new resolve. Admiral Kang, you'll deliver the warning. Captain Doyen Lee and the Horizon's Edge will carry our message. Yes, Madam President, Taemin said. One ship, Myung said. One ship arriving at Vrakti Prime, their capital world. That's the protocol? General Jiwoo nodded. We need them to see what we're capable of. Need them to understand that our restraint was a choice, not a weakness. One ship will demonstrate that better than a fleet. President Shin returned to her seat. This is humanity's final warning to the Vrakti Empire. We tell them exactly what will happen if they attack us again, and then we show them a tiny fraction of what Earth has been hiding. And if they don't believe us? Taemin asked. Then we prove it, the president said quietly. We prove it in a way that leaves no doubt. But we do it without killing. That's crucial. We show overwhelming power while demonstrating that humanity chooses not to use it for destruction. Dr. Myung spoke carefully. The Vrakti have subjugated 47 species through military might. They respect only strength. If we show weakness again, they'll attack with everything they have. Then we don't show weakness, President Shin said. We show them exactly what humanity is capable of. We show them the technology we've been hiding. We show them that Earth could have ended their empire at any time, but chose not to. Taemin felt the weight of this responsibility settle on his shoulders. 40,000 people had died today. More would die if this failed. But if it worked, maybe the killing could finally stop. When do we leave? He asked. Tomorrow, President Shin said. The Horizon's Edge is already being prepared. Captain Doyen is being briefed. You'll travel to Vrakti Prime, deliver our message and wait for their response. And if they attack the ship, President Shin's expression turned cold. Then Captain Doyen has authorization to demonstrate exactly why that was a fatal mistake. The meeting ended. Taemin walked back through the corridors toward his quarters, his mind racing. Tomorrow everything would change. Tomorrow the galaxy would learn that humanity was not what it seemed. He thought about the 40,000 dead, about the families that would never see their loved ones again, about the children who would grow up without parents. This was for them. This warning, this show of force, not to conquer or dominate, but to finally make the killing stop. Taemin reached his quarters and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vrakti Empire celebrated another victory. They thought they had found easy prey, a weak species to exploit and destroy. Tomorrow they would learn the truth. Tomorrow Earth would deliver its final warning. The Horizon's Edge dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Vrakti home system. Captain Doyen Lee stood on the bridge watching the main view screen as Vrakti Prime appeared in the distance. The planet glowed with city lights, a jewel of civilization built on the conquest of 47 other species. His ship was alone. One human vessel in the heart of enemy territory. All systems ready, Captain, said Commander Jiho Nam from the weapons station. Jiho had lost his sister in the 3rd Vrakti attack. His parents in the 5th. Now he sat at the controls of technology the Vrakti couldn't imagine, waiting. Open all communication channels, Doyen ordered. Every frequency. I want this message heard across their entire system. Channels open, sir, the communications officer confirmed. Doyen took a breath. Behind him, Intelligence Officer Hyerin Choi monitored Vrakti response patterns, her console translating their military chatter into human language. This was the moment everything changed. This is Captain Doyen Lee of the Earth vessel Horizon's Edge, he began, his voice calm and clear. I carry a message for the Vrakti Empire. This message is broadcast in 47 languages, so all species under Vrakti rule can understand. On Vrakti Prime, Overlord Threkis sat in his command chamber when the message came through. He was massive by human standards, his scaled skin reflecting the light from dozens of monitors. Around him, his council members stirred in confusion. A human ship here, in their home system? This is humanity's final warning, Doyen continued. Over 12 years you have attacked human territory 6 times. You have killed hundreds of thousands of our people. We have responded with measured defense. We have sent 17 requests for peace. You have interpreted our restraint as weakness. Threkis laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. One ship, he said to his council. The humans send one ship to threaten us. This proves their desperation. His military advisor, Fleet Marshal Krethix, studied the scanner readings. My lord, the ship's design is unlike anything we've seen before. Our sensors can't penetrate its hull. Then our sensors are malfunctioning, Threkis said dismissively. Humans have simple technology. We've studied their defense systems. They're barely spacefaring. On the horizon's edge, Doyen continued his message. We are providing exact coordinates and timestamps of all 6 attacks. We are showing proof that you initiated hostilities without provocation. This is not a debate. This is a statement of fact. Data streams flooded Vrakti communication networks. Detailed records of every attack. Video footage from colony surveillance. Medical reports of casualties. Everything documented with precision. You will cease all hostile actions against human worlds immediately, Doyen said, his voice hardening. You will withdraw from our territory. You will acknowledge responsibility for your attacks. Threkis' scales darkened with anger. How dare they make demands? Send the home fleet. I want that ship destroyed. Make an example of them. My lord, Krithix hesitated. Perhaps we should analyze their capabilities first. They came alone. That suggests either foolishness or confidence. It suggests desperation, Threkis snapped. They watched 40,000 of their people die and sent one ship to beg for peace. Deploy the fleet immediately. Across the Vrakti home system, military bases activated. Warships powered up their engines. Thousands of vessels began moving toward the human ship, a massive armada designed to crush any opposition. On the horizon's edge, Hyarin watched her console. Captain, detecting 3,000 Vrakti warships converging on our position. They're forming attack formation. Acknowledged, Doyen said calmly. He hadn't finished the message yet. If you attack us again, he continued, broadcasting to the entire system. If you fire one more shot at human territory, if you refuse this final warning, Earth will dismantle your civilization, not destroy it. Dismantle it. We will remove your ability to threaten others while leaving your people alive. Back on Earth, Dr. Myung Park watched the feeds from her office. She could see the Vrakti neural patterns through long-range scans, could read the biological signals that indicated their emotional state. Contempt, amusement, certainty. They thought this was a bluff. Admiral, she called to Taman in the command center. They're not taking us seriously. Their brain chemistry shows complete confidence. They genuinely believe we're powerless. Taman watched the same feeds. 3,000 Vrakti warships surrounded the horizon's edge like predators circling wounded prey. They'll understand soon enough. On Vrakti Prime, Threkis watched his fleet surround the human vessel. Open fire the moment they're in range. I want debris, nothing more, Doyen's message concluded. This is your choice, Vrakti Empire. Peace or consequences. We give you this final opportunity because that's what civilized species do. Choose wisely. The transmission ended. For a moment, space was silent. The human ship floated alone, seemingly defenseless against overwhelming odds. The Vrakti fleet closed in, weapons charging. Threkis leaned forward in his seat. Fire! 3,000 warships opened fire simultaneously. Energy weapons blazed across space, thousands of beams converging on the single human vessel. The horizon's edge's shields lit up, absorbing the impact easily. The ship didn't move, didn't return fire, just sat there as weapon fire splashed harmlessly against its defenses. Krethix stared at his displays in disbelief. Impossible. That much concentrated fire should have vaporized them instantly. Their shields shouldn't be able to handle even a fraction of that energy. Full power, Threkis ordered. Every weapon, maximum output. The Vrakti fleet intensified their attack. The space around the horizon's edge became a storm of energy. enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Still, the human ship sat there untouched, waiting. On the bridge, Doyen watched the display calmly. They've made their choice. Activate Cascade Protocol. Jiho's fingers moved across his console. Cascade Protocol armed and ready, Captain. Let them see what we've been hiding, Doyen said quietly. The Horizon's Edge deployed a single device. It was small, barely visible on scanners, a sphere of dark metal that drifted away from the ship into open space. The Vrakti fleet ignored it, focusing their fire on the ship itself. Then the device activated. A wave of energy expanded outward from the sphere. Invisible to the naked eye but devastating in its effect, it moved faster than light itself, passing through shields and armor as if they weren't there. The wave reached the Vrakti fleet in seconds. Every single warship went dark. Engines died. Weapons powered down. Shields collapsed. Life support systems failed. Communication arrays went silent. 3,000 state-of-the-art Vrakti warships became nothing more than metal coffins drifting in space. In his command chamber, Threkis watched his displays go black one by one. "What's happening? Report." "We've lost all contact with the fleet," one of his officers said, voice rising in panic. "Every ship. Total system failure. No responses on any channel." Krethix pulled up emergency feeds from automated probes. The images showed Vrakti warships floating dead in space, their crews scrambling into escape pods as life support failed. "Emergency life pods are deploying automatically," Krethix said, his voice hollow. The ships recognized crew life signs and initiated emergency evacuation. But the ships themselves are completely dead. "How?" Threkis demanded. "What weapon does this?" Dr. Myung Park, watching from Earth, could have explained it. The quantum disruptor field generated cascading interference at the quantum level, causing technological systems to catastrophically fail. It was selective, programmed to target only military technology while leaving everything else untouched. 20 years of Earth's best minds had created it, a weapon that didn't kill but rendered opposition completely helpless. On the Horizon's Edge, Doyen opened a new communication channel. "Attention, Vrakti Empire. Your home fleet has been neutralized. No personnel were harmed. This is mercy. This is us showing restraint even now." Across Vrakti Prime, civilian systems continued functioning normally. Hospitals, homes, schools, all untouched. Only military installations felt the effect. Their weapon systems failing, their ships grounded. "You have 72 hours to respond to our terms," Doyen continued. "Cease hostilities. Withdraw from human territory. Acknowledge your attacks. These are simple demands. This demonstration shows you what happens if you refuse." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Your fleet still exists. Your soldiers still live. We could have destroyed everything. We chose not to. Remember that when you decide how to respond." The communication ended. In his command chamber, Threkis sat in silence, staring at the screens showing his disabled fleet. 3,000 warships, the pride of the Vrakti military, neutralized in seconds by a single human device. His science advisor entered the chamber, tablet in hand. "My lord, I've analyzed the energy signature. That field could have been expanded. It could have reached Vrakti Prime itself. It could have shut down every military installation on our homeworld. But they didn't," Krethix said quietly. "They targeted only the fleet, only the immediate threat. They showed precision." Threkis' scales had turned pale. For the first time in his long life of conquest, he felt something unfamiliar: fear. The humans had been hiding this capability all along. Every attack the Vrakti had launched, every victory they'd celebrated, it had all been permitted. The humans could have ended the Vrakti Empire at any time. They had chosen not to. Until now. In space, the Horizon's Edge remained at the edge of the system, waiting for a response. Around it, 3,000 disabled warships drifted like monuments to Vrakti arrogance, and across the Vrakti Empire on 47 subjugated worlds, enslaved species watched the broadcasts with growing hope. The humans had done in seconds what they had dreamed of for decades. Maybe, just maybe, freedom was possible after all. 48 hours had passed since the demonstration. The Horizon's Edge remained at the edge of the Vrakti system, waiting. Captain Doyen stood on the bridge watching the view screen show Vrakti Prime in the distance. The planet looked peaceful from here, but Intelligence Officer Hiren's scans told a different story. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual fleet movements," Hiren said, her fingers dancing across her console. Vrakti reserve forces from 12 different systems are converging. They're moving toward human colony worlds. Doyen leaned forward. They're not retreating. They're escalating. Looks like it, sir, Hiren confirmed. They've pulled ships from across their empire. Maybe 5,000 vessels total. They're positioning for coordinated strikes on 8 different human colonies. Commander Jiho turned from his station. They think we can't defend multiple locations at once. They saw we sent one ship here. They probably believe our technology is limited in range. On Vrakti Prime, Overlord Threkis sat in an emergency council meeting. His advisors argued around him, their voices rising in heated debate. We must accept their terms, Krethix said. They demonstrated capabilities beyond our understanding. Continuing this war is suicide. No, Threkis said firmly. They showed us a trick. An impressive trick, but still just a trick. They sent one ship, because they only have one ship with that weapon. Otherwise, why not attack us directly? A science advisor spoke up nervously. My lord, our analysis suggests the quantum field could be replicated. If they have the technology once, they likely have it multiple times. Speculation, Threkis dismissed. We've conquered 47 species. We know warfare. If the humans were truly powerful, they wouldn't negotiate. They would have destroyed us already. They disabled our home fleet without killing anyone, Krethix argued. That shows more control than destruction ever could. It shows hesitation, Threkis countered. They're afraid to kill. Afraid of real war. We attack their colonies simultaneously. They can't defend all of them at once. When they see their people dying, they'll surrender. Krethix shook his head sadly but said nothing more. Threkis had made his decision. Back on Earth, Admiral Taman received the intelligence reports in the command center. Dr. Myung stood beside him, her expression grim. They're doing exactly what their psychology predicted, she said. They've built their entire civilization on military dominance. The idea that they're inferior is literally unthinkable to them. Their brains won't process it. So they're going to attack 8 colonies at once, Taman said. They believe it's their only move, Myung replied. In their mind, we're bluffing. They can't conceive that we've been showing restraint by choice. Taman pulled up strategic maps. 8 human colonies, each with millions of civilians. The Vrakti fleets were already in position, waiting for Threkis' order. Get me President Shin, he said. Minutes later, President Yoonji Shin appeared on the screen from her office. She looked tired, older than she had just days ago. The weight of leadership showed in her eyes. They're going to attack, Taman said without preamble. Multiple colonies simultaneously. They think we can't respond everywhere at once. President Shin was quiet for a long moment. We gave them a warning. We demonstrated our capabilities. We showed them mercy even then. Yes, Madam President. And they responded by planning to kill more of our people. Yes, ma'am. President Shin closed her eyes. When she opened them, something had changed. The diplomat was gone, replaced by something harder, more resolute. How many ships do we have equipped with quantum disruptors? She asked. 200, Taman replied. We've been building them in secret for 5 years. Each one can project the disruptor field across an entire star system. 200 ships, the president repeated, against an empire of 200 star systems. Yes, ma'am. Enough to neutralize every Vrakti military installation simultaneously. Dr. Myung spoke up. Madam President, if we do this, we'll be revealing the full extent of our capabilities. Every species in the galaxy will know that Earth has been hiding this level of technology. They'll know we could have conquered the galaxy and chose not to, President Shin said. Let them learn that lesson. She straightened in her seat. Admiral Kang, I'm authorizing Phase 2. Non-lethal cascading suppression across all Vrakti military assets. Show them that our warning wasn't a bluff. Show them that Earth's mercy has limits. Yes, Madam President, Taman said. The transmission ended. Taman turned to his staff. Begin Operation Cascade. All ships, all targets, coordinated strike. Across human space, 200 ships that had been hidden in deep space stations began powering up. These weren't like the Horizon's Edge, massive and impressive. These were smaller, faster, designed for one purpose only. Each ship carried a quantum disruptor. Each ship had a target, every major Vrakti military installation in their empire. The Vrakti fleets, positioned around human colonies, waited for Threkis' attack order. They didn't know that human ships were already moving into position around them, invisible to their sensors. On Vrakti Prime, Threkus prepared to give the command. All fleets report ready? Yes, my lord, an officer confirmed. 5,000 ships in position around 8 human colonies. Civilian targets identified. Waiting your order. Threkus felt satisfaction. The humans would learn. You don't threaten the Vrakti Empire. Attack, he ordered. The Vrakti fleets opened fire on the human colonies. And in that exact moment, 200 human ships activated their quantum disruptors simultaneously. The effect was instantaneous and overwhelming. Every Vrakti military asset in their empire died at once. Ships, defense platforms, weapons batteries, command centers, military bases. Everything connected to their military infrastructure simply stopped working. 5,000 ships attacking human colonies went dark mid-assault. Their weapons died as they fired, beams dissipating harmlessly. Their engines failed. Their systems crashed. On Vrakti Prime, every screen in Threkus's command center went black. The lights died. The air circulation stopped. Emergency lights kicked in, but all military systems were gone. What happened? Threkus shouted into the darkness. No one answered because no communication systems worked. The command center was completely isolated. In orbit above Vrakti Prime, their defensive satellites drifted dead. On the ground, their planetary defense cannons were silent metal sculptures. In 12 star systems, their reserve fleets became ghost ships. But civilian systems continued working normally. Hospitals, homes, power plants, water treatment facilities, everything civilians needed to survive remained untouched. Only military infrastructure died. Captain Doyen broadcast from the horizon's edge. Attention, Vrakti Empire. You chose to ignore our warning. You chose to attack human colonies. You have now experienced the consequences. His voice carried across Vrakti Prime through civilian communication channels. Everyone could hear him. Every military asset in your empire has been neutralized, Doyen continued. Your fleets, your bases, your defense systems, all offline. We did this in one coordinated strike. We could have done this 12 years ago after your first attack. We chose not to. On Earth, Dr. Sun Ho-yoon sat in his laboratory watching the displays. He was the man who had invented the quantum disruptor technology 15 years ago. He'd created it as a defense system, never imagining it would be used on this scale. We're showing the galaxy what non-lethal warfare looks like, he said quietly to his assistant. We're proving that you can win without killing. His assistant nodded. But we're also showing them how helpless they are against us. That's terrifying. It should be, Sun Ho replied. Fear prevents more wars than friendship does. Across the Vrakti Empire, the 47 subjugated species watched the broadcasts. They saw the mighty Vrakti military reduced to nothing in seconds. They saw the humans demonstrate power beyond imagination, and they saw opportunity. On the Dulvani homeworld, resistance fighters emerged from hiding. For decades, they'd been planning rebellion but lacked the weapons to fight. Now they didn't need weapons. The Vrakti had none either. Similar uprisings began on dozens of worlds. Enslaved species rose up against their Vrakti oppressors, knowing the Empire couldn't strike back. The balance of power had shifted in an instant. Back on Vrakti Prime, Threkus finally managed to get emergency communication working. His scales were pale with shock and fear. How, he asked Krethix. How did they do this? Simultaneous strikes across 200 star systems, Krethix said, his voice hollow. They must have positioned ships we never detected. Ships using technology we can't even scan properly. But why not destroy us? Threkus asked. They have this power. Why leave us alive? A junior officer spoke up hesitantly. Perhaps that's the point, my lord. They're showing us they could have destroyed everything but chose not to. They're proving their restraint is deliberate. Threkus slumped in his seat. His empire, built over centuries of conquest, had been dismantled in seconds. Not through destruction, but through surgical precision. Ambassador Somin Kwan's ship entered the Vrakti system, escorted by 2 human vessels. She had been Earth's diplomatic envoy, spending years trying to establish peaceful relations with alien species. Now she came to deliver terms to a defeated empire. Her ship landed on Vrakti Prime. She walked into Threkus's command center accompanied by 2 guards. The Vrakti overlord, once mighty and confident, looked diminished. I bring terms from Earth, Somin said calmly. You will surrender control of all military assets that we haven't already disabled. You will release all subjugated species. You will stand trial for war crimes. And if we refuse? Threkus asked weakly. Then your civilization remains disarmed forever, Somin replied. Your ships will never fly again. Your weapons will never fire. Your people will live, but your empire ends. This is non-negotiable. Krethik stepped forward. What about restoration?
Can our military systems be repaired?
Soman nodded. The quantum disruptor effect is reversible, but that's a privilege you must earn. First you accept terms. First you face justice. Then perhaps you can join the galaxy as equals instead of conquerors. She handed Thrikis a data pad. These are the full terms. You have 24 hours to accept. If you refuse, Earth will ensure the Vrakti Empire remains disarmed permanently. Soman turned and walked out, leaving Thrikis holding the pad. In orbit, the horizon's edge and Earth's fleet waited. Captain Doyen monitored the situation carefully. They had revealed their full hand now. Every species in the galaxy knew what humanity was capable of. Do you think they'll accept? Jiho asked. Doyen considered the question. They don't have a choice. We've shown them that we could have destroyed them at any time. We've demonstrated power and mercy simultaneously. That's more terrifying than destruction alone. Because they know we could still destroy them, Hiron added. We're choosing not to. Exactly, Doyen said. Fear of what we might do is more powerful than what we did do. On Vrakti Prime, Thrikis read the terms with his council. Complete surrender, war crimes trials, release of all conquered species, acceptance of Earth's authority in establishing a new galactic order. We have no choice, Krethik said quietly. Our military is gone. Our subjugated species are rebelling. If we refuse, we'll be isolated and helpless forever. Thrikis looked at the terms for a long time. His empire, centuries of conquest, ended in days by a species they'd thought was weak. Finally, he pressed his seal to the document. The Vrakti Empire had fallen, not with a bang, but with the quiet certainty of overwhelming power restrained by wisdom. 3 months had passed since the Vrakti Empire surrendered. Captain Doyen walked through the corridors of what used to be the Vrakti High Council building. The massive structure on Vrakti Prime had been converted into the Transitional Governance Center, a place where former slaves and former masters tried to figure out how to live together. The building still showed signs of Vrakti architecture. High ceilings designed for their larger frames, wall carvings depicting their conquests. But now representatives from 47 different species filled these halls, speaking dozens of languages, all trying to build something new. Doyen found Admiral Taman in one of the conference rooms, studying reports on a holographic display. The Admiral looked more relaxed than he had in months. Captain, Taman greeted him. How's the colony reconstruction going? New Brisbane is being rebuilt, Doyen replied. The colonists are returning. They're calling it New Brisbane Second Chance. Appropriate name, Taman said. He gestured to the displays. We're finalizing the trial procedures. The 47 species want their day in court. They want to face their oppressors. And Thrikis? He'll stand trial, Taman confirmed. Along with his war council. Not in a human court. In a court made up of judges from every species they conquered. Doyen nodded slowly. That seems fair. We didn't liberate these species just to rule over them ourselves. That's exactly what President Shin said, Taman replied. Earth didn't defeat the Vrakti to become the new empire. We did it to end empires. In another part of the building, Dr. Myung conducted psychological evaluations on Vrakti leadership. She sat across from Thrikis in a simple room, watching him carefully. The once mighty overlord looked smaller somehow, diminished by defeat. Do you understand why you lost? Myung asked in Vrakti language. Thrikis was silent for a long moment. You had better weapons. No, Myung said gently. We had better restraint. Every species you conquered, you destroyed. You taught the galaxy that the strong must dominate the weak. We taught a different lesson. What lesson? Thrikis asked bitterly. That true strength is choosing not to destroy when you have the power to do so, Myung explained. You could have negotiated with us after the first attack. You could have recognized us as equals. Instead, you kept attacking because you couldn't imagine being inferior. Thrikis's scales darkened with shame. My people were raised to believe conquest was natural. The strong take what they want. That's how the universe works. That's how the universe used to work, Myung corrected. Now it works differently. Now species protect each other instead of conquering each other. Because humans enforce it, Threki said. No, Myung replied. Because 47 species chose it, Earth just removed the obstacle preventing that choice. You. In Earth's orbital command, President Yoonji Shin prepared to address the newly formed coalition of free worlds. Representatives from all 47 former Vrakti subject species would be watching, plus ambassadors from dozens of other alien civilizations that had remained neutral during the conflict. "Madam President," her aide said, "the galaxy is watching. What you say today will define Earth's role in galactic politics for centuries." President Shin looked at her speech notes, then pushed them aside. "I'll speak from the heart." The aide looked nervous. The diplomatic corps prepared those remarks very carefully. "And they're too diplomatic," President Shin said. "The galaxy doesn't need more political language. They need honesty." The broadcast began. President Shin stood before the cameras, looking directly into the lens. "3 months ago, Earth revealed technology we'd been hiding for years," she began. "We showed the galaxy that we could have conquered anyone at any time and chose not to. Many of you are asking why. Why did we hide our strength? Why did we wait so long to act? Why did we stop the Vrakti without destroying them?" She paused, letting the questions hang in the air. "We hid our strength because we remembered being weak," she continued. "Humans spent thousands of years fighting each other on our homeworld. We know what it's like to be conquered. We know what it's like to be oppressed. When we finally reached the stars and found other species, we didn't want to become the thing we'd always feared." On Vrakti Prime, Threkis watched the broadcast from his holding cell. Beside him, Krethik stood silently. "We waited to act because we hoped peace was possible," President Shin said. "We sent 17 diplomatic messages. We offered trade, technology sharing, mutual defense. We wanted to prove that species could coexist without dominance hierarchies." Her expression hardened slightly. "We were wrong. The Vrakti couldn't understand peace. They only understood power. So we showed them power, but we showed it without killing, because that's the lesson we want the galaxy to learn. You can defeat an enemy without destroying them. You can be strong without being cruel. You can protect the weak without becoming their ruler." In the conference room, Ambassador Samin watched the broadcast with a small smile. This was the president she remembered from years ago, before politics had worn her down. "Earth doesn't want to rule the galaxy," President Shin declared. "We want the galaxy to rule itself. Every species has the right to determine their own future. Our technology, our strength, our military, all of it exists for one purpose only: to prevent any species from taking that right away from others." She leaned forward slightly. "To those who think Earth is now the dominant power, you're right. We could enforce our will on anyone, but we won't. We'll use our strength only to protect the weak, only to stop aggressors, only to ensure everyone has the choice we fought to preserve. To species that might consider conquest, remember what happened to the Vrakti. We gave them 6 chances. We showed mercy 7 times. Not because we were weak, but because we were strong enough to choose mercy. Across the galaxy, billions watched, some with hope, some with fear, all with new understanding of what humanity represented." The speech ended. President Shin left the podium and found Taman waiting for her. "That was quite a speech," the Admiral said. "It was honest," she replied. "The galaxy deserves honesty." "Some species will be afraid of us now," Taman pointed out. "They'll see us as a threat." "Good," President Shin said. "Fear prevents more wars than friendship. As long as they fear attacking others, they'll keep the peace." On Vrakti Prime, the trial proceedings began. A grand chamber had been prepared, with judges from all 47 liberated species presiding. Threkis and his war council sat in the defendant section, surrounded by evidence of their crimes. One by one, witnesses came forward. A Delvani mother whose children had been taken as slaves. A Kelthani scientist whose research had been stolen and weaponized. A Barathi elder who had watched his entire city burned. The testimonies lasted for weeks. Threkis listened to all of it, his scales growing paler as he heard the reality of his empire's actions. He'd always known they conquered, but he'd never truly understood what that meant for the conquered. Dr. Sun Ho attended the trials when he could. As the inventor of the quantum disruptor, he felt responsible for how it had been used. One day, Threkis's lawyer approached him during a recess. "The Overlord wants to speak with you," the lawyer said. Sun Ho was surprised, but agreed. He was brought to a private room where Threkis waited under guard. "You created the weapon that defeated us," Threkis said. "I created a defense system," Sun Ho corrected. "Humanity decided how to use it. A weapon that doesn't kill," Threkis said thoughtfully. "My scientists have been studying the technology. They say it's more complex than anything we've developed. The precision required to disable military systems while leaving civilian infrastructure untouched is extraordinary. It took 15 years to perfect, Sunho admitted. We wanted to be sure it would work exactly as intended. Why? Threkis asked. Why go to such effort? Destructive weapons are simpler, more reliable. Sunho sat down across from the Overlord, because humans learned a hard lesson on our homeworld. We learned that destruction is easy. Anyone can destroy. Building, preserving, protecting, those are hard. Those require real strength. So you built a weapon that proves you're strong by not killing, Threkis said slowly. You defeated us by showing restraint. We defeated you by showing you had misjudged us, Sunho replied. You thought our mercy was weakness. It wasn't, it was a choice. When you forced us to act, we showed you what we were capable of while still choosing not to destroy. Threkis was quiet for a long time. I spent my life believing the strong must dominate. That's all I knew. All my people knew. You've shown us something different. What you do with that knowledge is up to you, Sunho said. The technology that disabled your military can be reversed. Your ships could fly again. Your weapons could work again. But Earth won't restore them until we're certain the Vrakti have learned. Learned what? Threkis asked. That there's more than one way to be strong, Sunho replied. The trials continued for months. Eventually, verdicts were reached. Threkis and his war council were found guilty of crimes against sentient beings. The sentences varied. Some received life imprisonment. Others were sentenced to work rebuilding what they'd destroyed. Threkis himself received an unusual sentence. He would serve as ambassador from the Vrakti to the Coalition of Free Worlds. He would spend his remaining years working to undo the damage his empire had caused. You're forcing me to make peace, he said when the sentence was announced. We're giving you a chance to choose peace, the chief judge replied. Whether you succeed or fail is up to you. In the months that followed, the Coalition of Free Worlds took shape. 47 species worked together to establish trade agreements, mutual defense pacts, and cultural exchanges. Earth provided technology and protection, but took no leadership role. Let them lead themselves, President Shin insisted. We'll be the guardians, not the rulers. Admiral Taman stood on the observation deck of Orbital Command one evening, watching Earth rotate below. Dr. Myung joined him, carrying 2 cups of tea. The galaxy has changed, she observed. For the better? Taman asked. Time will tell, Myung replied. We've shown that strength and mercy can coexist. We've proven that defeating an enemy doesn't require destroying them. But whether other species learn that lesson, whether they follow our example, that's uncertain. We can only control our own actions, Taman said. We can't force others to be good. No, Myung agreed. But we can stop them from being evil. And maybe that's enough. They stood in silence, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was learning a new way to exist, not through conquest or submission, but through cooperation protected by those strong enough to enforce peace. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't guaranteed to last. But it was better than what came before. And that they both knew was all anyone could ask for. 5 years had passed since the Vrakti Empire fell. Captain Doyon, now Admiral Doyon, stood on the bridge of Earth's newest flagship, the Unity. The ship was even more advanced than the Horizon's Edge had been, equipped with the latest versions of technology that had once been secret. Admiral, incoming distress signal, the communications officer announced. Coalition World Talvis 4. They're under attack. Doyon moved to the tactical display. Talvis 4 was a Dolvani colony, established after their liberation from the Vrakti. It was home to about 3 million people, mostly refugees who had survived the old empire's brutality. Show me, he ordered. The display revealed a dozen warships in orbit around Talvis 4, firing on the colony's shields. The ship designs were unfamiliar, angular and aggressive, built for one purpose only. New species, intelligence officer Heron said, studying the readings from her upgraded console. The database identifies them as the Korthan Dominion. They've been expanding aggressively in the Outer Rim for the past 2 years. I remember reading the reports, Doyon said. They've conquered 3 minor species so far. The Coalition sent diplomatic messages, which they ignored, Hiron confirmed. Now they're attacking Coalition territory. Response time? Doyon asked. We're 6 hours away at maximum speed, the navigation officer replied. The Talvis defense fleet can hold for maybe 4 hours. Not good enough, Doyon said. He opened a communication channel. "This is Admiral Doyen of Earth Defense to all Coalition vessels in range. Talvis 4 is under attack. Anyone who can assist converge on those coordinates immediately." Responses came quickly. An Earth cruiser, 2 Dolvani patrol ships, a Barathi supply vessel that insisted it could help somehow, but the closest ship was surprising. "Admiral," the communications officer said with a note of wonder, "the Vrakti peacekeeper ship Redemption is responding. They're only 2 hours from Talvis 4. Captain Krethix is requesting permission to engage." Doyen smiled slightly. Krethix, the former fleet marshal who had advised Threkis to surrender, now commanded a ship dedicated to protecting others. The Vrakti had earned back some of their military technology by proving they'd changed. This would be their first real test. "Tell Captain Krethix he has authorization to defend Talvis 4, Doyen ordered, "and tell him we're on our way." On the Redemption, Krethix received the message with satisfaction. His crew, all former Vrakti military who had chosen to serve the Coalition, worked their stations with practiced efficiency. "All hands. Combat stations," Krethix announced. "We're going to help defend a Dolvani colony, the same Dolvani people we once oppressed. Today, we prove we've changed." The Redemption dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Talvis 4. Immediately, Krethix saw the situation. 12 Korthan warships pounding the colony's shields. The Dolvani defense fleet, just 5 ships, fighting desperately to protect their home. "Open a channel to the Korthan vessels," Krethix ordered. "Channel opened, Captain." Krethix spoke in clear Standard Galactic. "This is Captain Krethix of the Coalition Peacekeeper Redemption. You are attacking a protected world. Cease fire immediately and withdraw." The Korthan commander's response was immediate and mocking. "1 ship? You send 1 ship to threaten us? We have 12. "I'm not threatening you," Krethix replied calmly. "I'm giving you a warning. This is your only chance to leave peacefully." "We are the Korthan Dominion," the commander declared. "We take what we want. These colonists are weak. This planet will be ours." "I used to think that way," Krethix said quietly. "I learned better. You can too, but only if you're smart enough to listen." The Korthan ships opened fire on the Redemption. Their weapons were powerful, designed to overwhelm through raw force. The Redemption's shields absorbed the impact. "Return fire," Krethix ordered. "Disable their weapons systems only. No casualties." The Redemption had been equipped with modified Vrakti weapons enhanced with human technology. The precision was extraordinary. Beam after beam struck the Korthan ships, each shot calculated to disable weapons arrays without breaching hulls or harming crew. Within minutes, half the Korthan fleet was disarmed. The other half tried to retreat. "Don't let them run," Krethix ordered. "If they escape, they'll just attack somewhere else." The Redemption pursued, continuing its systematic disabling of Korthan weapons. By the time Admiral Doyen's Unity arrived 4 hours later, all 12 Korthan ships floated helplessly in space, their weapons offline but their crews unharmed. Doyen opened a channel to Krethix. "Well done, Captain. You protected the colony without destroying the attackers." "I learned from the best, Admiral," Krethix replied. 5 years ago, Earth showed my people that there's another way. Today I showed the Korthan the same lesson." Down on Talvis 4, the Dolvani colonists watched in amazement. The species that had once enslaved them had just saved their lives. It was a strange feeling, but not an unwelcome one. The Korthan commander, now powerless, finally agreed to communicate. His face appeared on the Unity's view screen, a reptilian species with sharp features and angry eyes. "You've made an enemy of the Korthan Dominion," he hissed. "No," Doyen replied calmly. "You made an enemy of peace. Now you're going to learn what that costs." "You'll destroy us?" the commander asked with false bravado. "No," Doyen said. "We'll do something worse. We'll teach you." Over the next few days, Coalition ships gathered around the disabled Korthan fleet. But instead of attacking, they formed a perimeter and sent boarding parties. Not to fight, but to talk. Ambassador Somin arrived personally to lead the diplomatic mission. She entered the Korthan flagship with a small security detail, walking calmly through corridors filled with hostile warriors who glared at her but couldn't fight back. She found the Korthan overlord in his command chamber, a massive warrior who looked like he could tear her apart with his bare hands. "I am Ambassador Somin of Earth and the Coalition of Free Worlds," she said. "I'm here to deliver a message." "I don't negotiate with the weak," the overlord growled. "Then it's fortunate I'm not weak," Soman replied. None of us are. We're stronger than you. We proved it by defeating you without killing anyone. Now sit down and listen or spend the rest of your life drifting in space. The Overlord sat, his pride wounded but his intelligence functioning. He knew when he was beaten. 5 years ago, another empire made the same mistake you're making, Soman explained. They thought conquest was natural. They thought the strong should dominate the weak. They attacked the wrong species and learned a hard lesson. What lesson? The Overlord asked. That strength without wisdom is just violence, Soman replied. That real power comes from protecting others, not dominating them. That the truly strong don't need to prove it by hurting the weak. She pulled up a holographic display showing the transformation of Vrakti space, former slave worlds now thriving, trade agreements, cultural exchanges, mutual defense pacts, species working together instead of fighting. This is what happens when you choose cooperation over conquest, Soman said. This is what your dominion could become. And if we refuse? The Overlord asked. Then you remain disarmed, Soman replied simply. Your ships will never fly again. Your weapons will never fire. Your people will survive, but your empire ends. Or you can accept our terms. Stand trial for your attacks. Make reparations to the species you've hurt. And earn your way into the coalition. You're offering us membership after we attacked you? The Overlord asked in disbelief. We're offering you a future, Soman corrected. What you do with that offer is up to you. Back on Earth, President Yoonji Shin met with former Overlord Threkis in her office. He had become an effective ambassador over the years, using his understanding of imperial psychology to help negotiate with aggressive species. The Korthan remind me of my younger self, Threkis admitted. Proud, certain of their superiority, unable to imagine being wrong. Will they learn? President Shin asked. Some will, Threkis replied. Others won't, that's how it always is. Some Vrakti embraced change. Others still dream of the old empire. But enough have changed that the species as a whole has a future. And you? President Shin asked. Do you regret what happened? Threkis considered the question carefully. I regret the suffering I caused. I regret not seeing the truth sooner. But I don't regret the outcome. The galaxy is better now than it was under my rule. That's wisdom, President Shin said. Hard-earned, but wisdom nonetheless. 3 months later, the Korthan Overlord stood before the Coalition Assembly. He had agreed to stand trial, accepted his sentence, and now prepared to take an oath. I, Overlord Vekrath of the Korthan Dominion, swear to uphold the principles of the Coalition of Free Worlds, he said, the words clearly difficult for him. To protect the weak, to resolve conflicts peacefully, to use strength only in defense of others. Beside him, Ambassador Threkis nodded approvingly. He remembered taking a similar oath 5 years ago, remembered how much it had hurt his pride. But pride healed. Wisdom lasted. Admiral Doyen watched the ceremony from the Unity's observation deck. Commander Jiho stood beside him, both of them reflecting on how much had changed. Do you think it will last? Jiho asked. This peace we've built? Nothing lasts forever, Doyen replied. But it's lasting today. Tomorrow we'll make sure it lasts another day. That's all we can do. There will be other species, Jiho said. Other empires that think they can take what they want. Yes, Doyen agreed. And we'll give them the same warning we gave the Vrakti. The same warning we gave the Korthan. Stop or we'll stop you. Not by destroying you, but by making you powerless to harm others. And if that's not enough, then we show them what Earth is capable of, Doyen said quietly. We show them the same lesson we've shown everyone else. That humanity could conquer the galaxy but chooses not to. That we could destroy our enemies but choose to teach them instead. That our mercy is a choice, not a weakness. Far across the galaxy on a remote outpost station, Dr. Myung reviewed psychological profiles of newly contacted species. Her job was to assess which ones might become threats, which ones might need coalition protection, which ones could become partners. It was endless work. The galaxy was vast, filled with thousands of species, each with their own drives and fears and ambitions. Some would choose peace. Others would choose conflict. Her job was to figure out which was which before people died. Dr. Sunho's research laboratory had become a teaching center. Scientists from 40 different species learned about quantum technology, about precision weapon systems, about the philosophy behind Earth's approach to warfare. We don't share this technology lightly, he told a class of young researchers. Every species that learns these principles must understand the responsibility that comes with them. You don't use this knowledge to conquer, you use it to protect. A Dulvani student raised her hand. But what if we need to conquer? What if there's a threat that can't be reasoned with? Then you disable them, Sunho replied. You remove their ability to harm others without removing their right to exist. That's the lesson Earth learned. That's the lesson we're teaching the galaxy. On Vrakti Prime, former Fleet Marshal Krethix prepared for another patrol mission. His ship, the Redemption, had become a symbol of transformation. A Vrakti vessel now protecting the same species they once conquered. His crew had grown proud of this role. They wore their coalition uniforms with honor, served alongside former enemies with respect, and proved every day that change was possible. Captain, his communications officer called, we're receiving a distress signal. Unknown aggressor attacking a research station. Krethix smiled. Set course. Let's go show them what happens when they threaten the weak. As the Redemption jumped to faster than light, Krethix thought about the message they would deliver. The same message Earth had delivered to his people 5 years ago. This is your only warning. Stop attacking or we'll stop you, not by destroying you, but by making you understand that in this galaxy, under coalition protection, the strong protect the weak. They don't prey on them. It was a simple message, a clear message, and thanks to Earth's example, it was a message backed by the power to enforce it. The galaxy had learned. Some species learned quickly, others learned slowly, but eventually they all learned the same lesson. Peace wasn't weakness. Peace was a choice made by those strong enough to choose it. And humanity, along with their coalition partners, would ensure that choice remained available to everyone. One warning at a time.